Hi, boys and girls. Tonight's story is called Harold and the Purple Crayon. This is one of my favorite books from growing up because it's got really simple pictures that tell a great big story, and it shows us how all of us can have fun when we use our imagination. And Harold, with his purple crayon, you're going to see, has got a huge imagination. It's by Crockett Johnson. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the forest, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. Suddenly, whoops, I missed the page. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Suddenly he realized what was happening, but by then Harold was over his head in the ocean. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. After he'd sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and he thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. Pretty soon we're going to be able to have picnic lunches. What's your favorite picnic lunch? Mine is peanut butter and jelly. There was nothing but pie. Well, Harold had a good one too, but there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. Now that's a picnic, 9 kinds of pie. What are your favorite kinds of pie? I wonder what Harold's favorite kinds of pie are. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. I wonder what he's going to do with all that extra pie. See? Drawing something. Let's see. His imagination is helping him out. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb so that he could see where he was. That was smart to get on top of a hill. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see. So he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired and he felt he ought to be getting into bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. But as he looked down over the other side, He slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. Oh no, Harold. I know what happened. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he still couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows, and he made a big building full of windows. Do you see that his moon is always with him? He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked with the moon, wishing he was in his room and his bed. Then suddenly, Harold remembered. What do he remember? He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed, and he got in it, and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. The end. Have a good night, boys and girls.